All right, welcome to Latino Talk TV. I'm your host, Jose Luis Jimenez.
And I am Ben Mendez.
Thank you for joining us tonight. And tonight is the premiere of Latino Talk TV's third season going live here at Houston Media Source. And we're really excited to have, once again, the best volunteer group in all of Harris County. And tonight, we have some very special guests. And we're going to get into a topic that I think you might enjoy. And we're going to have some guests that are not all on the same page, which is great because if we don't have opposing views, we'll get bored and nothing good will come out of it. But before we get into our guests, we're going to start a new segment tonight, and it's called What Were They Thinking? And we're going to get into some stories. And Ben, what were they thinking? Let me know.
Well, I was reading the Houston Chronicle yesterday, and I came across this article. The Pope says that it's okay for male prostitutes to use condoms. What do you think about that?
I sit here and I read that too, and I'm Catholic and I understand and I practice and I'm a devout Catholic, and it's a big change for the Catholic Church to go down this path.
It's a 180-degree turn.
It is, but it's specific only for a certain segment of males. Or is that correct?
That's correct. I don't think that's right.
I don't think it's right. It's either all or nothing. Either you accept condoms or you don't. But at the same time, you go into the pro-life conversations. Is this going against all that? No, if you're okay with male contraceptives, is that okay with female contraceptives?
Well, the AIDS activists are very angry at this, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The Pope has always talked about abstinence. Why is he talking about letting male prostitutes use condoms?
Well, that's a good question, but I don't understand what they're thinking on this one because it's a huge change, and sometimes change is not good.
Well, let's go on to the next one. The Port of Houston gave a severance package to a VP, a former VP,
mm-hmm.
$378,977.
Man, I am in the wrong business. The government pays good.
We're talking about economic times right now in 2010, and they're giving away almost $500,000.
But, I don't think she's the only person that had that. I think the Metro chairman got a good severance pay, too, when he got, put out to pasture.
Yeah, but her annual salary was $155,000. Okay.
Then why did they give her all that money?
Good question. That remains to be found out. Let's go on to the next one. Now, this is a good story, actually. There were 60 kids that were adopted just recently. There's tons of kids out there that need families. They're in foster care. We should have more families step up to the plate.
Well, if you're out there watching, if you never adopted, which I haven't yet because I have 2 little kids, but eventually I think that's something we'll consider doing. That's wonderful that we have all this happening. But at the same time, we have to make sure the families are doing it for the right reasons, right? I mean, they have to go through all kinds of background checks and not just doing it for the money.
Right.
And I don't think this is the case this is a wonderful story, and I'm glad these kids got a new home.
We have 5,800 children in Texas that are waiting to be adopted.
Wow, that's crazy.
Here's an interesting one. A Bears-Eagles game, Chicago Stadium. We had a person that died. He jumped, I guess, from a top balcony. He landed 35 feet below, and he died.
Wow, there was another story not too long ago with the Staples Center in L.A. where a child died from falling over the rails. It's kind of crazy that we have OSHA and all these other safety issues for the construction of the building, but when the final design is set up, we have such gaping holes for people to fall over and kill themselves.
That's correct.
So, but how do you address that? Do you put barriers and cages around everybody with 8-foot walls of glass?
That would be hard to do.
It's going to cost some money, but what's more important? Safety? Now, is this guy's family going to sue the stadium? What's the changes going to happen?
Good question.
Well, we'll see.
Speaking of football, I don't know if you saw the Texans game this Sunday, but I sure did. Did you see the Tennessee Titan, Mr. Finnegan fight?
I saw the replay afterwards, and it was a good fight. I'm glad the guy learned his lesson.
He picked on the wrong person, let me tell you.
Don't mess with Texas, that's what they say, right?
Here's another one. Everybody's been talking about this. The WikiLeaks founder, Julian Assange, said that they're going to release documents from the State Department. Now, the gentleman that gave him those documents, he's already been arrested. But what was he thinking?
Now, what was he thinking? This is the kind of situation where, yes, we want transparency in the government. I totally agree, but that's on spend and operations. But we're talking about diplomatic issues that affect, soldiers' lives and the safety and well-being of other people. It just doesn't make any sense for someone, that's been entrusted with that type of information to just go out there and throw it out there. You put so many lives in jeopardy.
And the bad thing about it, this is a young soldier that gave him all these documents. So he's facing a long time in prison just for doing that.
As a soldier and a former Air Force veteran, I hope he stays in there a long time, never gets out.
On a good note, they finally arrested the gang leader in Juarez, one of the leaders of the cartels. As you know, Juarez has gone through some serious problems because of the cartels. What do you think about that?
I don't think he's the one. I think he's probably just another scapegoat. You know, if you really think about it, they find these guys all the time. They say it's a big public news, but you know, I don't really think it's the guys that really made the call the shots. I think it's just another guy got caught.
Since you work for law enforcement, do you think that we have a problem here in Houston with the cartels?
Do I think that? Do I know that?
Do you know that?
I don't know that. Okay, and I'm not in law enforcement. I'm not a police officer, so don't think that. But I think we do have a lot of issues here. Everybody knows that Houston is a huge pipeline for the cartels. You know, the port is tremendously big here, and you know, there's a lot of issues, and we need more law enforcement out in the streets. So hopefully, you know, the city and the county hires more police officers and puts more support behind that.
One last story, and this was pretty sad actually. This was in South Central Pennsylvania. We had a family that had 5 children that were hidden from society. In other words, they didn't go to school. And their ages 2 to 13. They had no birth certificates, no record of immunizations, no school records. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about 5 kids.
Wow. You know, this is terrible. And I mean, didn't any family members know that they were in there? I mean, they didn't keep them out of, you know, isolation. Somebody knew these children were born, had to.
They had to have neighbors.
That's right.
Somebody should have said something.
Well, hopefully these parents pay and the kids get taken care of properly. You know, and I'm going to give you a couple on a lighter note, okay? For those of us, this is definitely what were they thinking. They're going to have a football game at Wrigley Field with 1 end zone. Like, what are they thinking? There's no other football stadiums in Chicago. They have to play it in Wrigley Field. I mean, seriously, what were they thinking?
Look on the bright side. Everybody that's seated in the stadium is going to have a good view of the game.
Well, on a different note, there was a guy who stole a car from a Nissan dealership. Okay, you know, I guess great coverage for Nissan, but the guy didn't bring any gas money. He stole a car with no gas. He had to stop at a gas station and ask for money to keep going. They caught him there. Now that's a genius right there. Now, on a much lighter note, hopefully this never happens to any other president, but President Obama got 12 stitches. I think you heard about that.
He must have been Republican, the one that did it.
Well, I don't know if he was Republican or not, but he might have been a Tea Party guy. We'll find out. We'll ask him when they get on the show in a little bit. Or maybe he's a Democrat. Well, who knows? But the gentleman's name was Ray de Cerega. Hopefully I'm saying that. He's the director of the programs for the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute. So we'll see how it goes. But on that, you know, I think this was a good discussion. Hopefully we'll get into it even more, see what other people are thinking with our guests. Because tonight's show is about Houston politics and Political's Insider's view of what's going on in our politics. But we have a real diverse point of view from all our members. We have 4 very special guests. We have Mr. Dale Holes from the Tea Party, Clear Lake Tea Party. We have Ms. Elizabeth Perez from the Latino Republican National Caucus. Hopefully I said that right. If not, I'll get it correct after the little break. And then, of course, Mr. Hector Carreño. Lalu Davis. And they all don't agree, and that's a great thing. And we're going to have a nice open discussion. Just imagine we're in your living room. Well, hopefully we are. If not, we'll see what they talk about. But at the same time, soon after they get on the show, we're going to open up the phone lines and let you call in and chime in to what we're discussing. And you too can tell us what you think and what you think about what we're talking about and chime in. Okay? So on that, we'll be right back and stay tuned. Thank you.